Yes, you're watching the SA Sports Show. Time to talk SANFL, and of course the master of it, Luke Marchioro, joins us. Lukey, how are you?
Good, thanks, guys.
Mate, it was an interesting weekend, and we could start with lots of them. I think we're going to go backwards to the Sunday game, the Eagles-South game. When you have 198 tackles, and you've got more tackles than kicks, well, what kind of game have we got going?
It was very much a scrap. It was probably a missed opportunity for South Adelaide in the end. Kicked away, we're 12 points in front with the wind in the third quarter. But the Eagles just dominated the game after half-time. It was 31 inside 50s to 5 in the second half, and it was really a tale of two halves, and South will be left ruining a missed opportunity on the weekend.
But how can you have a game? How can you have a game where you don't kick a goal in the last quarter? So the Eagles don't kick a goal and they still win. That in itself is amazing. I want to ask you this about the ground, because we all saw the ground, how chopped up it was. What do they do now? Because there's no way that ground's coming up again in the next couple of weeks.
I think there's a few people at Woodville Cricket Club that are quite concerned it might not be ready by October for the cricket season. So obviously it's going to take their toll all year, and it might change the way the Eagles play. It might turn into a bit more of a scrappy ground for the next few weeks. But given they've got a bye and there's a little bit of dry weather coming up, they might get away with it for a couple of weeks and might get back into a bit better nick.
It doesn't look good. It's not a good ground anyway for holding it. I don't know whether they've got drainage in there now or whatever, but it was never really a great ground for holding, for draining the mud and water away.
I'm more concerned about this. I know we've got some other games to get through, but the occupational health and safety of the players on that ground now would be a concern for me. You know, suddenly I get stuck in the bog and I wrench a knee. Am I able to now go and say, I'm suing whoever's responsible for the ground?
Well, you're playing a winter sport, mate. You're playing a winter sport and it's going to be wet and muddy,
mate. There's grounds where you say that's okay, but this ground now looks to me like it's dangerous.
But to be fair, you could say that anyway. You could say that the grounds where the AstroTurf meets the turf, and we've seen people roll their ankles on that, and it doesn't seem to be those type of issues. So I think at that level, I think guys will get away with it. And, you know, there was a lot of muddy faces on the weekend. But there were
some great faces on the weekend. Hey, one of the games that was a ripper, Glenelg and West. I know West are undefeated, but Glenelg were lucky to win this one. You know, in the end, it turns out to be a 5-point game, and Glenelg were lucky.
Westies have been building, and they were building to that performance for a while. And really, after quarter time, they dominated that game, controlled a lot of the inside 50s and the statistics, and really had some opportunities to put the game away. They're building quite nicely. And Glenelg, you know, losing Durden and Turner now in the mid-season draft, and they've lost some of their depth coming out. It's created a few holes for Glenelg, and they're going to patch it up with some young kids, and whether they can get themselves into gear before the finals will be really interesting.
Well, they kicked 6 straight. I think the Bays, after half-time in that game, they kicked 6 straight, whereas Westies kicked 6-6. Westies could have won that game.
They had opportunities.
They were disappointed.
They were very disappointed with their first quarter. I think they were 30 points down at quarter time, and it's always tough to make up those kind of deficits as well with a bit younger group. But you know, Westies are building nicely. They've got some good kids coming through. They pinched 2 off Glenelg in Callum Park and Jackson Edwards. It looked good. Their older bodies played well on the weekend, so they're building. And I think 22 straight losses won't last for much longer. I think they're going to take a scalp in the next few weeks.
Sturt are a hard side to read, aren't they?
They are at the moment.
I mean, they're a bit hard to read at the minute. I mean, we've spoken about in the last couple of weeks about how they've dropped off a little bit. They were really good down at Albion. I saw them at Albion. They were really good. They just dropped off. Boom, up they come and knock Adelaide off.
They were fantastic on the weekend. Probably adapted to the conditions a bit better than what the Crows did. The Crows were still trying their handball. And Sturt were just surging the ball forward, get the ball into Abe Davis, and he gave Worrell and Frampton fits down there. So
6 goals.
6 and was clearly the difference in the game. And when he plays well, Sturt generally wins. So he had 3 kicks for 1 goal a week before they got belted. On the weekend, he kicked 6 goals. They win was the difference in the game.
Which is a great performance in those conditions, by the way. You know, that's a good performance.
And it was fantastic. And the senior midfielders in Battersby and Wilson stood up, 17 clearances, 50-something disposals between them, was the difference in the game. And whereas Norwood and South missed opportunities to put pressure on the top 5, Sturt won and sort of cemented their position there. It was a really important win for them.
So you touched on it, mate. Norwood lost to North. They got them in the first quarter, but then North came over the top of them. What is that now? North plays South this week. Is the gap starting to become too much? I mean, it's only 2.
We're at the true halfway point now. So after Central's Port on Saturday, everyone's played each other once. So now we're going to get that 5. The gap to the 5 is now 2 games for South and Norwood, and those games on the weekend where all of a sudden you're a game behind the Eagles or you're level with the Eagles with the second half of the year. Now at 2 games back, it's a lot of work to catch up. So you're probably going to have to win 6 out of 9 on the way home to make the finals. And on what we've seen from those 2 sides, very inconsistent. I don't see them getting on a run like that, but who knows? We thought with Matty Panos back it might have turned the corner for Norwood, but they sort of slipped back, 20 points up, kicked 0-6 in the third quarter and missed opportunities again.
Yeah, Matty was he pulled out late.
Yeah.
So that probably affected him a little bit, Norwood.
And it does, and that, like, we've seen what it makes for him as well. So when he's not playing, they don't generally win. So it leaves him in a bit of a hole again now.
Good for the comp though. There were some good games on the weekend. Great for the comp.
The comp's been great.
North and North was a terrific game. Sturton Adelaide's close. The Glenelg Westies. That would have breathed a little bit of life into the
There's been some great footy. I mean, 21 points was the biggest winning margin on the weekend. The rest of them are nearly single digits.
And we know that was tough. We know the conditions were tough. As the Eagles 4-4 to 3-9. That's a league game. You would not see that.
I'm telling you right now, mate, if you ask another question of Luke, the floor manager's going to throw a knife at you because we've gone over time before. Hey, Luke, you really appreciate you coming in, mate. Big weekend. Just quickly, the best game on the weekend, probably North and the Panthers?
Yeah, all Glenelg and Sturt play on Monday as well. Yep. That's a really big game. So those two sides are intersecting. So I think it'll be two really good games on Monday to look forward to.
Luke, always great to get you in, mate. The SANFL, need to get down and support your team. They are playing some fantastic footy. Stay with us. Still more to come.